it seems that post-COVID or post-2020, there's just been a sharp, consistent turn for the positive. You reckon the industry has changed in many ways from what it was for a better part of the last decade or the last couple of decades?
Very interesting that you felt that way, because it's quite true.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing which has changed in the industry globally is the view on the cost. So your fixed cost base has become more variable, and the variable costs are under check despite the inflation. So when companies come and report the results, the revenue increase to the profit increase sounds a little bit disproportionate. So the conversion levels have gone up. That's one. The second thing which has changed in the sector is that you're more focused today as a consumer on your national brands, because they became the safer places. You went where you knew what you were going to get. So I think in almost all countries, the national brands became a preferred way forward. The third thing that changed is the consumer itself. The consumer, base was firstly only domestic. International travel was shut, and it was quite obvious that the first trip people took on their own, without a driver driving them or without them able to fly, was they started driving on their own with the family, which was a tough decision. The second time, it was a less tough decision. The third time, it was a relatively okay. And thereafter, it became easy. So more and more people are traveling now on extended weekends, whether it was the Republic Day weekend with 1 day of working in between. So I think there is this as a third element. The change in consumer behavior is very strong, and the sector, especially in India, has seen an upswing without having even 50% of the base of the international travel, and without G20 getting into full swing, and the other events that are expected to happen this year, like the World Cup cricket. So a lot of good is yet to come. So I do believe the change is sustainable. I do believe the change will drive profitability. I do believe that the best is yet to come, with just one caveat: talent. A lot of talent migrated into other sectors because people were inculcated with the fear that if you go to a hotel or restaurant, you might get COVID-19. So a lot of people left. There are many other players who kind of furloughed the staff. We heard this term, at least I heard it for the first time in my career. We were blessed; we didn't go that way. But talent is the other challenge in the post-COVID era, and how we are going to skill people and skill a lot of people, and that is actually also something very exciting.
Okay, and I'm going to talk about that as well. But first, how much of this, I'll come to 2023 also, but how much of this do you reckon could stay for a better part of the decade? The shift in fixed versus variable costs. In your experience, the ability of the customer to spend a lot more on experiences and less on products, if you will, and if that is driving this behavior of extended weekends and just a lot more leisure time versus what maybe used to happen in the past, how much of this do you reckon is sustainable well beyond the initial post-COVID reflex action, if you will?
A lot is sustainable, and experience travel is not, or experiential vacations is not something new. That's been there. What has changed is combining business and leisure in a way that it never happened before. So because of the switch to digital, because of the possibility of having video conferencing, it was there before too. But the amount of people who moved on to Zoom and Microsoft meetings, calls, and are still using that very effectively, that is a change that will stay to a major part. But a lot of meetings will also become physical, because relationships cannot be built on a screen. You have to meet the people, like we are meeting now and having this chat. So I think for a short term, a year, year and a half, it was fine. But ultimately, especially hospitality is a relationship business, and we can't serve customers digitally. We can use an app to send food at home, but still somebody has to bring the food home. Right? So I think some of that is there to stay. But the most important factor is on the Indian subcontinent, let's say even India, the supply is constrained because not many hotels went into the development phase in the last 3 years. The demand is coming back very strong on the domestic front and is still going to go up because of the international travel that is started. And for us, that travel is more important between October and March because that's the time the climate is very conducive, especially for people coming in from the West. So I do believe that this is going to be a sustainable, profitable journey for the sector, and also people are beginning to enjoy more. People are beginning to value after seeing what happened during COVID. Some people like to call it pent-up demand, but it's now almost 1 year since the third wave. I don't think pent-up lasts for that long. It's a change in the customer attitude and in the consumer behavior.